really nice thing that you just said. Maybe I should go this way. You like my English 8 ball
They,
table I got back here?
I
Two of
don't
them.
like anything English at the moment.
Yeah, I don't know if I do either. We're kind of getting beat on, aren't we?
I think we're mostly beating ourselves, to be fair. I didn't see a lot from
Yeah. I
Team Europe or anything that was just outside of just normal execution stuff. It's not like they overwhelmed us or, just were doing things super special. They just cleaned up when they needed to and didn't make mistakes when they didn't, when they weren't supposed to. So,
yeah, that's kind of right, right? They didn't kill themselves like we killed ourselves. I mean, if you I mean if you look at the team match right away, I mean Sky and Tyler show up ready to play. They win all 4 points. Fedor obviously. Well, I guess looking at it, it took us missing a 9 ball, missing two very easy
yeah.
7 balls, and Albin having a golden break, and that's still the best they could do was
Yeah,
Fedor.
I think at
I
that
mean,
point you realize it's just a little bit of cleaning up errors. I think the biggest thing for me that I was surprised on yesterday, let's say starting with the team match, was there was I think I counted 5 or 6 times through day one where in critical shots, critical positional shots on a key ball that unlocks a what you would consider an easy run out. Um, the team got flat, either flat, straight in, or very close to straight in, positionally. And on new cloth, that's the worst place you can be because it limits you. You can only go forward, you can only go back.
for
You
sure.
can't really manufacture angles because of the slide of the table. It's just impossible. So, I mean, a fundamental basic thing is just you got to protect your cue ball angle always, especially on your key balls. You don't want to be straight in unless it's like it's a stop shot because you have guaranteed position or you're shooting the 9 ball. And so lack of detail,
And if you're not, go ahead.
yeah. And so if you're not tuned in and not, that just tells me that you're not paying attention to the details. You know what I mean? The details matter in short races. All that stuff gets magnified. So if you put yourself in spots like Shane early on puts himself super flat on an 8 ball and has to settle for a super long, 9 ball, and then shoots this 9 ball rolling ball, which was really surprising to me because again on new cloth you're super sensitive to deflection. Any little uh, you know tip variance off center is going to cause a little deflection, a little slide, and at distance now you're magnifying any little error. So it looks like he hit it horrible. He might have hit it very close to making it. You know what I mean? But with that deflection, it's going to cost you. So for me, rolling the ball is never the option ever. You're supposed to drag that ball. And I see this shot come up less and less in the modern players for whatever reason. But you could just play a long drag shot on new cloth and it'll hold the line for you over a big distance, makes it a lot easier. And then
No, Cookie can't be on the
you're,
show. Only Jim.
you're, you know,
What's the viewing figures growing out?
you're, uh, you're holding the
Yeah,
line, for a long distance. And then the cue
America.
ball drags and slows down and you can open up your pocket. You know what I mean? So to me, that's a big thing. And then the other thing is just, you got to control the body language stuff. You can't allow for negative body language out there. It's just a cancer when it comes to team sports. So somebody has to step up and say this isn't going to be allowed. We're going to be positive and stay focused and kind of do our job because in a vacuum, it's one match, it's one ball, it's not the whole cup. So if you start treating it like it's the whole cup and, your whole Mosconi Cup was riding on whether or not you ran out in this one rack, then, mentally you have to revisit where you're coming from as far as frame of mind. So,
no, I agree with everything you said with especially like the coming up on the short on the angles. I mean, we saw that happen in Sky, I believe, in his second game of the
mhm.
first match. He came up very flat on, I think, a 4 ball. He ends up drawing the cue ball back with inside spin, coming off the short, the long rail, or the short rail for like a 3 ball that's like just by the
Yeah,
side pocket on one of
yeah.
his runouts. And that's the kind of hero shot that, like, I would venture to say that Shane would have missed that ball. just because how he was feeling about it. But Shane, I mean, Sky is like, oh my God, he's just built for these
Yeah, I
moments,
feel
isn't he?
like that was he didn't want to fall flat on that ball, but it was a safety valve. If he just drew it back up table and played short side on the three, it makes his life a little easier. And he'd rather take that shot than have to take really tricky two shots in a row after that. Just kind of come with the one long distance shot. And even though there's a lot of cue ball movement there, it's like the safest path really for him. So I think really the biggest thing if I'm coach, I'm telling them, hey guys, just be careful about your cue ball. Make sure you're going to favor more angles. You know what I mean? Bigger angles are going to help you. Somebody like Corey Deuel plays a lot of big angles naturally. He just likes to do that because it lowers, the amount of speed you got to push through a stroke and do all these kind of things to manufacture stuff. He doesn't like that. It's not his style. And for new cloth conditions, that kind of approach is going to help take the pressure off of you, especially on smaller pockets. But
Yeah, yeah.
that's really what it comes down to is how we react to those little adversities, and then just keeping your cue ball in line. I think after that, you go and take your lumps wherever you can, and see where matches end up. I think Shane Wolford really showed himself well. The few opportunities he got, he played composed. He didn't look rattled. Didn't look like, you know what I mean? He just handled, he made a miss here and there and then responded well. And I think he's played so far as solid as you can ask a young man to play in that environment. And, I saw some equipment related, what I think are maybe like deflection misses on both sides. I saw FSR, miss a few open balls that you wouldn't have seen him miss. Now that he's playing with Q-Tech, that Q-Tech shaft has more deflection to begin with than the Revo. Then you're on new cloth, which is going to magnify that a little bit. So you're going to see some shots that are going to be uncharacteristic misses for guys switching. The opposite is true for Federer, where he came from Q-Tech and now he's playing with white carbon, which I think is less deflection than the Q-Tech. And so now you might see him overcut balls that, he's expecting to glance inward here and there. But as those guys dial in, you're gonna see their skill level go up. But for me, my biggest takeaway from yesterday, two things, just on the technical side, is protecting your cue ball, because if you do that, then you run out the racks and we win that match 5-2, 5-3, maybe the team match. And maybe that changes the mindset and tone. I would also be mindful of where we're putting Shane. I think it's understandable that he's like the senior guy and people look up to him, but we also know how kind of.
He should never have been first. He should
Yeah,
never have been
I think
first.
I would have put Skylar first, maybe Federer, yeah,
Or
and then
second.
put Shane maybe
Yeah.
third. Tyler also, to his credit, played really good yesterday. He kind of handled the situation well and recovered for Shane really well in their doubles matches, and in the teams he played great as well. So I think he really looks fit and form, like ready to go. So I think day two's lineup came out today as well, and it's kind of like they're tucking Shane more towards the middle. He's playing a doubles match with Federer.
Yeah, I think let's talk about that maybe just in a few seconds, just because I wouldn't mind closing out my thoughts on day one too. Because I as being in the arena, we get to see things
Yeah.
that the camera doesn't, and Shane is kind of
Right.
moping already. Like, and I'm not trying to throw Shane under the bus, and I see a lot of people on Facebook being, Margaret's post comes to mind, Margaret Kufalova's post, and I guess looking at what she said, this is one thing about the media where, like, obviously I would consider us media at this point. There's one thing to attack somebody's character, somebody's attributes, somebody's personal side of things, and there's another thing to critique their play on the table and only on the table. In the same way that we would be praising Shane if he was shooting well, we also have to be able to say some things negative if it warrants it. And I'm not trying to justify all the people that are taking shots at his character or saying he shouldn't be out there or anything like that. But I feel like that you do got to be able to say at some point in time what you think of the play itself. I just don't think that, and I'm not trying to be negative already, because of
Yeah.
course it's day one and everybody's allotted a bad day. But we got to at some point in time be able to also, if you're going to be out there playing in front of us, we should be able to critique in small ways, not taking
Yeah.
into account character or anything like that. It's
I
just
think
the
this is
play
the
on the table.
important part about team sports is that accountability is a big deal. And so if you're gonna be
Exactly.
in a
Yes.
leadership position, then you got to be able to be accountable when you're not living up to what's being asked of you. So that's any good leader is going to take that on the chin and welcome that if they're really there for reasons other than themselves. You know what I mean? So I think I think it's important, especially if you create an atmosphere where you can't critique somebody, and I'm talking about within the team environment specifically, not so much social media, because sports fans really are, they're clueless. They're not the ones getting up there and to her point, putting the cues together and trying to play under pressure. So your job then becomes understanding each individual's mentality, like how they respond to certain things, what are triggers for them that get them going, what are triggers for things that unplug them, and what is a worst case scenario mentally that could cascade into the rest of the team based on where that person is. So I kind of yeah,
That comes down to coaching. I think that comes
right.
down to coaching.
Yeah, I think so. And I think also the interpersonal relationships too. I like the idea of Shane being an anchor, like somebody who's going to be at the back, kind of holding it down, like your last line of defense, who's going to, just keep the back end solid, because that's just how I think he likes to be anyways. He likes to sit back, play, be in and of himself and focus and just kind of go and hit balls. So I think putting him up front kind of goes against that a little bit. And then it feels like it's a lot of pressure on him, maybe too much early on. So
You figures to grow
So
up
if
around that.
you give other
Indeed.
guys if you give other guys like Skyler and Wolford and those guys a chance to show how they're going to play, that's going to pump Shane up too. If it feels like he doesn't have a lot of pressure on him and he can just go out there and play and he knows his guys are behind him, then he can kind of just take a more backseat role and let those guys execute. So I think as far as lineup decisions go, that's important to know. Guys that have proven in the past that they're up for it right away are like, Skyler's probably been the guy, that you would say is the number one for Team
Oh
USA.
yeah, he's ready to go anytime.
Yeah, so I would have probably started with him and then maybe put Federer up there just to kind of get past all the nonsense in a safe environment. You're in the team thing, you're just playing one rack, and then maybe you put up Shane. Tyler and Wolford have both played well. So honestly, we're not very far off from playing great. You know what I mean? I think the two takeaways that we got to get past
Yeah.
is this little bit of a mindset thing, and then just a simple basics thing like protect your cue ball. If you keep your cue ball angle fine, like if Shane doesn't get flat. I was watching the first rack. He made some beautiful shots early on and looked like he was cueing the ball well, handling the crowd.
Oh, he
So,
solved every rack.
right.
He solved every rack, and once the rack was solved, that's when he started.
Right.
That's when he
So
let up.
so at that point, it's like that 7 ball to the 8. That first game, I saw the cue ball kind of drifting over, and it got real flat, and I'm like, oh, this is not good. You know what I mean? I would almost venture to say it's even better just to draw the cue ball back and take a little bit of a thin cut on the 9 and just cut it so that you're protecting your cue ball and not putting yourself in a spot where you got to make a super accurate hit full, because any little degree off and that ball's not going in. You know what I mean? So you got to play a
Yep.
little bit different when it comes to the new claw stuff. And again, there's pressure there. There's a lot of people screaming and all this other stuff. But I don't think the crowd in Europe this year is anywhere close to what US crowd was last year. Uh,
No, it's actually very tame.
yeah, they
Honestly,
look
it's
like they're
very
just
tame over
like,
here.
they've got their steam milk there. They got the crumpets in the oven. You know what I mean? They're just like, perusing over a pool match. It doesn't seem very vitriolic, at least not compared to your call stuff that I've
No,
seen
not
in
at
the
all.
past. So
And actually, to the crowd yesterday, it was probably. I mean, I know. I think Friday and Saturday are sold out, or very close to sold out. But yesterday, and we'll see what it looks like today. But yesterday, I'm guessing there was 5% capacity. I mean, it still was probably a couple hundred open seats, absolutely. So it was quite a bit more tame, but there was also significantly less people than a full crowd. So we'll see what happens
yeah,
as we get closer to the weekend. Hopefully,
I'm
it stays a
sure the
match.
weekend. Yeah, I'm sure as the weekend approaches, you'll see more people
Those
in
those
there.
spots will fill in. Yeah.
Yeah, and Rax Accoutrements makes a good comment in the chat. He says, if you're part of a team, then that negative posture and like even if you're feeling it inside, you can't reflect it physically, because it's a to me it's a cancer. It looks like you can see it affect other players, and if you're in that position of influence like Shane is, then people are going to look to you. As you go, the team is going to respond subconsciously until like if it's me, you know what I mean? If it's me and I'm in a team and somebody starts acting that way, like we're gonna have words, you know what I mean? Whether in front of everybody or out in the back, like
Yeah.
we're gonna hash it out. We're gonna say, okay, why are you acting this way? And let's get this out of the way. And if we have to fight or we have to scream or do whatever, we'll do that, because when we get out there, we got to be a team. You know what I mean? And it's hard to simulate that if you
Yeah.
don't have a culture of that, if you don't have like
Sure.
a broader approach to kind of working together. And I think culturally in the US, we don't really have that as much in our ecosystem. And so
Yeah.
in areas like this, right, you really see the downfall of that. Whereas I feel like other, like the Filipinos, for instance, I think have always been more kind of like they clan together, and they share responsibilities. They break down mistakes after a match, win or lose. There's 4 or 5 of them discussing a position, and they're like, this is what we would have done, this is what I would have done. And then they kind of hash out, this is the right shot for you or for me. You know what I mean? And it's kind of like this iterative process. They're always working on that. So it's hard to kind of like
Yeah.
just simulate that in a few days. But the pressure out there is going to magnify everything. So it's your responsibility to, whatever you do, you gotta get an identity together. And I feel like US kind of lacks a little bit of identity right now. They're trying to figure out who's who, like what's the pecking order type.
Well, to be fair to Shane, he's never been a team guy. He's never
Yeah,
tried to be a team guy. He's never acted like he was a team guy. He's always
sure.
been who he is, which is a singles player, and there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. He just can't be the one to step up. Well, the person that should be, or theoretically should be, is Sky Woodward. He's played better than everybody else, and probably on both teams basically for like the last like 4 or 5 years straight now. Uh, you want to, but Sky just doesn't have it in him. He's just so easygoing and laid back. I mean, he's a killer on the table, but once you get him away from the table, he's just so chill and so relaxed. He doesn't want to be that person to have to like you say, have words with her. He doesn't want to have to hold players accountable. He wants to be the nice, cheery guy that keeps
Yeah,
everybody
and,
up. But he just doesn't. I just don't think he can dig people out of the dirt
and
like he needs to,
part of
or like we
yeah,
need him
and
to
as far as
maybe.
accountability time, sometimes you need somebody who doesn't mind being disagreeable doing that. But a lot of times they get looked at, as the bad guy, or just somebody who doesn't want to, but like a lot of
Sure.
times, like you have to set standards. Like, what are our standards for play? What are our standards for how we're going to behave?
Well,
What are our
actually,
standards for how we're going to treat each other? And we have to know, why it's not just about you, or why it's not just about me, and why I'm here. And a lot of times when you relate to somebody on an emotional level, you can realize, okay, he worked his whole life to get to this point. I'm not gonna, shortcome his effort, to get here, and not give maximum effort on my end. And that's when you get buy-in. You need to have buy-in. And a lot of that comes down to coaching. That's why we have great coaches in sports, like like a Nick Saban. Everybody just expects the guy to get the max out of his players, or like an Eric Spoelstra, who keeps taking the heat with like no names and undrafted players to the finals. People wonder, like, how is he getting it done? There's examples of this
Yep.
in other sports. We can draw from those things, and then reverse engineer what works best for ourselves and for our teammates and for the players, and try and put the best foot forward. I think now we're going to day
Do you-
2, and we have the lineups out, right? So we have day 2 lineups out,
Yep.
and now it's going to be a super heavy investment on Federer today. And this is, I think, the first time I've ever seen somebody play 3 matches in a row in the same day.
Raw.
I don't ever, I don't
It would
ever.
take a.
No.
It would take the fans trust. What? So I guess because I'm at a bar, I guess,
Yeah,
waiting to head over to the arena. I
yeah,
don't have it up in front of me, but I do know it starts.
yeah. It's
It starts
it's a
Josh
Federer and Federer
Fedor,
first. Federer and Federer
and
first.
then FSR and
Then FSR and Federer singles again, and then a doubles match of uh what is it? Oh, Filler and FSR, and
and
then
then Federer.
Federer and Shane. So Shane will be in the back hitting balls those 2 matches before his match and doubles, and then it goes singles with Albin and Tyler, and then doubles Sky and Wolford. So, um, you know,
So I guess my thoughts on this is you're putting a huge investment into something that you don't know
yeah,
with Fedor. You don't know if he's going to come out and be ready for it. You hope that he will be, but you don't know if he will be or not. I like the idea of putting Sky out there more. Sky and Tyler, we know that they're playing well and they're ready for the moment. If we lose today, we lose like we did yesterday, we lose 3 out of 5, or worse than that, 4-1.
yeah.
The Mosconi Cup's over.
Well,
I think we got to be putting ourselves out there. I like the Shane and Fedor, but I want to see Tyler get out there and play earlier on. Uh,
yeah,
but
I'm surprised a little bit too of getting Federer in there 3 matches in a row. Now I have full confidence in Federer. Obviously, you'd probably say he's probably the best player. He's arguably the best player on both teams. Yeah.
he's arguably, yeah. I mean, yeah,
So
him or
like on
Josh.
paper, I understand that, but it feels like you're kind of forced to kind of do this now because of the outcome of day one. And so I wish for it kind of you start thinking about in hindsight what maybe a different lineup would have been so there's more parity. I think in the past we've always done, or I've always seen, like, let's say a player will go up and play singles and then he's definitely going to play the doubles next. That makes a lot of sense to me, right? And so, Federer was probably the guy who's going to play singles on day one, at the end of day one, assuming that they got to another singles match. So this kind of like makes sense because they've used to do their last singles match on day one. But to your point, there's a lot of pressure now on Federer to kind of handle that stuff. And I think he knew that coming in, he was going to get this, right? He was going to get a lot of the, that kind of weight put on him, but now it's kind of like put on him and the team isn't performing well to start. So you're kind of trying to steer the ship a little bit. So I understand the move. I think I think the lineups for day one maybe could have been a little bit different, especially it being a double centric day. I would have gone Shane and Sky to start, the World Cup finalists. I just, to me, that's like I don't think maybe they've ever lost in the Mosconi Cup together. And, they beat FSR and David last year when they played. That's a first matchup. I think they played in doubles as well. I would have gone that route. And then I probably would have put Tyler and Federer together because they have very similar styles and dispositions and technique. And I probably would have put Wolford out in the singles match, and almost because I think you knew Filler was going to play. And sometimes you do this like at BCA league matches or APA league matches where you're matching up and you kind of like, they know they're going to put their 7, so maybe you put your 2, right? And so it's kind of like if you get lucky and
Yep.
you steal that match, it's crippling for them, right? Because now they've kind of like they've overextended. Now, not to say that Wolford is a 2 or anything, but it kind of puts him in a no pressure situation, and he gets to get out there and feel what it's like. Johan did that with Tyler, and Tyler stole a big match from Niels a few years back when Tyler made his debut, and it was huge. It actually won Team USA their first point. And so I feel like,
Yeah, and they went on to
yeah,
win
and it was a
3 straight.
huge momentum switch. So I think once they get their first win on the board, this first match is going to be really imperative. And Filler's an animal. He's a killer in this environment. So it's like, what are you going to do? But Federer is one of those guys that if he gets opportunities after the break, he's one of our top breakers as well. Him and Tyler break the balls unbelievable, and Wolford breaks great. I think those 3 break the best for Team USA in this format that I've seen. And there's definitely something for kind of like, maybe scoring. We need to score at least 3 points today. If we can get 4, that would be.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I think that Jeremy put the lineup today to try to get
Yeah,
to 4-1. I think this is what he thinks the best that he can do to give Fedor the opportunity. If Fedor goes out there and steals that first one, I shouldn't say steals because of course he's got the chance to beat anybody anytime anywhere. It doesn't matter where
yeah,
the venue is. Uh, he could. I mean, I don't see a reason why he wouldn't go and sweep. It's the third match that I think is going to be really interesting. If Fedor can win the
yeah.
first 2, maybe
I
Shane comes
think
out
I
with confidence and he's ready to go. But
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, if Fedor loses the first 2, I think Shane's going to come out like just morose and just like haphazardly.
Right, and I think Shane and Federer are a power doubles couple. Like that's going to be a strong match for sure.
On
Yeah,
paper, it's our
well,
best.
yeah. I mean, probably. I think Shane and Sky have a lot of experience together, so I think it's arguable one way or another.
Yeah.
But those 3 together, you create a wheel of doubles matches between those guys, and it puts you in a really good spot. So Wednesday, we're definitely going to see Federer and Sky, and we're definitely going to see, you know, Shane and Sky. Like those are going to come out and play. So I think ultimately today, our job is just to kind of stay one match at a time, one ball at a time. Yesterday happened, it's over. You have to have the conversations you need to have in the locker room to help make sure that everybody's bought in and know what's going to happen and be there present for our guys and see what everybody needs and then just go respond. Because honestly, you know, Europe gave opportunities. They gave us chances to go close out and win at least two of those four matches. You know, we had, I would say the Filler and Sky match was kind of funny because Sky never really got a good look in, never got a look after the break.
No.
And Filler got looks after every break. And then if he didn't get runouts, he was putting Sky in spots where he's using his jump cue. So it looked like, I think at the end of the match, Sky had 3 straight jumps. You know what I mean? That's all he had. And in a short race, you know, that's going to happen, you know? So you can't really sweat that so much because Sky looked good in teams and carried the team through and put him in a position to steal the match with Federer breaking double hill. So that's all you want. You want if you had ball in hand and you say, hey, the team match going to go double hill and your best player is going to go break, have a chance to win the game, then you would take that every time. Yeah, you'd be like, okay, fine. Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay.
Whatever happens.
Especially if you tell them that they had a golden break and we missed a 9-ball and 2 pretty easy 7
Yeah,
balls.
so it's like, you know, on paper, if you just objectify those things, you say, okay, you know, we're down 4-0. That's great. It's a race to 11. I've been in matches where a guy hits me with a 3 or 4 and a race to 11, and you come back and, you know, you steady the ship and you get a shot to steal the match and win the match towards the end. So all that you kind of have to have big picture look at. And, you know, they're doubling down on Federer to start the day to try and anchor ourselves and right the ship. If he does that, it'll be a huge points earned for the U.S. fans. But I think if he doesn't, it's going to be a big risk, and the Europeans are going to look to try and end the cup early by gutting him. If they can steal 1 or 2 of those points, they're going to be triple confident, and then you're going to start seeing them play at a super high level. So.
If Federer loses the first 2, if he comes out and loses the first 2, we are losing the third, and we're down 7-0. We might not have a day 4, and I know that they always guarantee that.
Yeah.
We might only have 2 matches tomorrow, which is going to suck because I have VIP tickets tomorrow, so that's going to be great.
Yeah, I mean,
Bummer.
that's a worst case scenario. I think as far as American fans are concerned, and as far as matchings probably is concerned, but I think ultimately none of that really matters. Federer's got to go out there and play. He's a professional. He's a world-class player. He's likely the best player all around in the world. He knows what his job is, and he knows what he has to do, and he's not going to accept anything less than that. And so now he gets to go prove his worth and show to the world that he deserves to be there. You know what I mean? And showcase why everybody around the world universally respects him. And I think if you're a champion, that's the moment that you want. You know, you want that. You dream for that moment to kind of get up there and prove who you are. So Federer's going to do better things, and I have a lot of confidence in him. And I think the rest of the team does as well. And so I think we're going to see maybe almost like a passing of the guard here, where you start seeing Federer and Sky being more of like the prominent leaders of the team, especially if Federer holds it down, holds those first 2 down, and then Shane comes out and backs him up and scores a 3rd point. Those 3 first match wins, if that happens, then you see a big influence shift happen in the dynamics, and you start seeing maybe Federer and Sky being more leadership and Shane just kind of playing a support role, which I think better suits his disposition anyways. He wants 2 front runners, and if he knows those guys are out there swinging haymakers and taking down Euros, then he's going to start playing better himself, and that bodes well for everyone. So yeah, it's interesting to watch. It's unfortunate that day 1 happened the way it did, but there's some really bright spots. I think Tyler played super. I think Wolford played super. I'm really proud of him and how he kind of held it together and looked calm. And even when he missed a ball, he just looked like he was okay. You know, all good. I missed 1 ball. It's not a big deal. And he went out there and potted some tough shots and made some good recovery shots and showed well for himself. A lot of people have been commenting about how well he looked. I love the gold chain too from Wolford. He looks like he's ready to collect his money. If you don't have it for him, he's going to have to take you outside. So uh, he's a stud. He looks great. Tyler looks awesome. Looks super cool and calm out there. Calmer than I even saw him last year. Which I think last year was a big step forward for Tyler. So I think he's really adding himself as like a, hey, I deserve to be here every year. We know what Sky can do. So once Shane gets it together and Federer does his things, I think we'll see a different cup. So, but it has to happen now. We have to focus on execution. That's the biggest thing.
Yep. There's no time like the now. So before we get into our predictions for the day, I think that the players needed some Magic Mind. That would have helped them, which is our new sponsor to the podcast. How fun does that
Yeah,
sound?
can I get
Yeah,
can I get one of those sent to me, because I'm always looking at the.
Yes, I will.
Yeah.
I will ship you one down there. Yes, I will. I will talk to them, get you some Magic Mind down there. Unfortunately, I don't have any of it yet because I'm in London, of course. So I'm gonna have to wait until next week to tell you how awesome it is. But yeah, it's always good to have some outside money in the pool industry. We don't have enough of it. So thank you to Magic Mind. I am very excited to try it next week. And I think by next week, I think I'm probably going to be like a 700 IQ Fargo,
There you go.
whatever that is. So that's going to be great. So thank you, Magic Mind, for sponsoring the podcast. And you can find all of your stuff, Magic Mind. Go check it out. We are going to be doing a little bit better on this next week once we're actually home. But yes, thank you to Magic Mind. All right. Also, thank you to Toby Custom Cues, big sponsors of the podcast. They allow us to do what we do and allow us to come over here and cover a lot of these events with their support. So thank you to Jacoby Custom Cues. And let's go into our predictions for the match. Okay, so match number one, Fedor versus Josh. What do you think?
I mean, it's a pick 'em, really. I mean, Filler is proven in this environment, and Federer's not. But you know, Federer has beaten Josh more than a couple of times in many tournament settings, and he's used to short. I mean, Federer performs really well in short race format stuff with all the Predator like events that he's won. So I like Filler. I'd say it's like a 5-4. It's got to be a 5-4 either way. It's really a pick 'em, I think. So depends on the racks and the rolls and how they come out. But I'm looking for Federer to come out strong and score a huge point for Team USA.
Yep. I think. I mean, I'm going with my heart here and not my head because my head says Filler,
Right.
but my heart says Fedor because I want this to go a long time. I don't want to be over here for 3 days and have nothing to do. So, but I think Filler is going to win it, the opening match. But I'm going to go with Fedor because I need him to win.
Got it.
So, second match, FSR versus Fedor. I'll go first for this one. I think Fedor wins this one, and I think he wins this one comfortably. No, even if he loses the opening match, I think that Fedor is going to be comfortably winning the second set.
I think
What do you got?
of the Europeans, maybe FSR looked the most kind of shaky yesterday.
Absolutely. He missed a lot of long pots.
I think we're going to see the long pot misses from him until he gets better acclimated to his Q tech. It's just got more deflection, and it's a great cue. It's just this is just what it is. So this is the struggle of adapting. He's had it for like a week, maybe. We saw a photo of it for the first time the other day. So, but Federer's also kind of adjusting to his white carbon shaft, which is lower deflection, so it's kind of going the other way. I think you'll probably see Federer pull that match too, maybe 5-2, 5-3. I think is where it'll end up. Both guys break really well in that format, so assuming they get great racks, then it won't be any referee rack shenanigans.
Yep. All right. What do you think? Shane and third match. Shane and Fedor versus what was it? Josh and
FSR. Yeah,
Josh.
I mean, it's one of these things where it's. I think, like to your point, it really kind of depends on how those first two matches go. We might see a really strong Shane. Shane's got to play better. He's got to know he's got to play better. And if he plays better, then things go really well for Team USA. And but Filler is probably one of the best doubles partners in the world. He'll make anybody look great because he doesn't care where the ball ends up. He just, stop it here. I'll chop this ball in from nowhere. So he's an unbelievable asset to have. I don't think I saw him and FSR play together last year. I can't recall, but I think historically the U.S. has played better in doubles than Europe the last few years outside of these past two matches. So, um, you know, I don't know. I think Shane and Federer. I mean, Shane and Federer are on paper our best pair. Our best pair. I've never seen them play together, and we didn't get to see them play in any of the kind of early coverage. So, but we'll see. I'm just gonna go for like a straight sweep for USA this today because we need that. We need that for sure. But
Well,
yeah,
so you're picking the U.S. I'm saying this: if the U.S. If Fedor loses the first two match, Tyler wins his singles
yeah.
match, and we lose the next four. If Fedor can split them, I still think we lose this match. But I could if Fedor wins both, I think they win this match too. If they split them, or if Fedor loses the first two, I think they lose this one. But I think, like I said, I think they're splitting it. So I think that FSR and Josh are
Yeah.
going to get this one. But close.
I
Probably
mean,
Hill 5-3
I mean,
at the
if
worst.
Shane doesn't win that match with Federer, it'll be maybe that means he'll have gone 0 for 3 in offerings to start the Mosconi Cup, and you can't win the cup doing that. So he has similar pressure on him to start the day, and he's got to know that he has to go out there with no there. You got to go and get the point. That's it. You know what I mean? So we're in a you can't ease your way into it. You got to just jam it down and just kind of like fight back. You know what I mean? If you don't show up, you don't fight, then you start hearing people say whether or not you should be on the team. You know what I mean? Well,
That's a conversation we're going to have in the future if that does
it's a
continue
very
on.
consequential match for a lot of reasons, I think. And so I think Shane knows that he's got to go out there and do what he's got to do. He's Captain America. He's got to go out there and play like Captain America. So
And I think this is a very serious conversation that needs to be potentially. Not being able to keep Shannon on this. But all that changes if they come out and I know we
winning
kind of live in the
winning
moment,
cures everything,
but
right?
everything.
Winning cures everything. A lot of this stuff goes away if they just go out there and sweep day 2, and we get to feel like, okay, we took a punch, we came back, we gave a big punch back. I think the fans are happy. I think Matchroom's happy. Everybody's happy, and now the players are realizing, okay, this is a fight. You know what I mean? But we got to show up and fight. You can't go out there and get punked. That's not acceptable. It's not an option. So you got to go out there and handle your business. It starts with Federer. He's got to go out there and handle his business 2 matches in a row. Just treat it like it's one big match, one race to 10. And then he'll be warmed up, dialed into the table better than anybody. You know what I mean? Obviously, Filler and FSR will have each played a match on that table, so they'll have some feel for what's going on out there. Shane will be coming in a little bit blind, but he'll have the practice room to kind of recreate those environments and try his best. And good luck, pal. Don't make me go over there and bust every last one of you.
Wait for me then. Okay.
Anyhow, so it's a huge match, and on the back end of those 2 matches, I think Tyler played great yesterday, so I expect to see him play well. It'll be interesting to see him and Albin because I had the most concerns about Albin going into the Mosconi Cup because he showed really poor form in Puerto Rico in the team event, and then Sky and Wolford is actually a doubles pairing that I was looking forward to seeing during the Cup because I know they're good friends and they have a lot of chemistry together and they've traveled around together the last 2 years. So I think that's a sneaky pairing that will play relaxed and well together. So my only trepidations about this lineup is that Sky is so far at the back end and basically might not be a factor in the day to help set the tone. So I don't know. It's a consequence of day 1, I think, but we'll see.
Yep. So you have 3-1, you have 3-0, and it sounds like you're picking Tyler, and then you're in Sky, Shane and Shane and Sky.
Yes,
For American White.
straight sweep, baby. Straight sweep for the USA. Let's go.
America.
I got
Tyler winning the fourth match, and I got us losing on the day 2-3. But it's one of those situations where we could end up going if Fedor loses those first 2 matches. If he wins them both, I think they'll win the third match. So a lot of fluctuating that can go if fate or opportunities, because even when you're playing well, it doesn't matter what you.
Yeah, I think this is one of those days. I mean, every day is like this. Your goal is to win the session, but anything short of winning the session is just not good for you. It looks really bad. And then you got to start taking a look at what's going on in the dynamics of the team building and I think systems. It's hard to generate. To me, the biggest thing is like in the US, we don't have systems that promote world-class play. We have systems that promote handicap Fargo tournaments, and we have systems that promote sandbagging and all this other stuff for league stuff, but there's not a big incentive or overall kind of culture shift to generate world-class players and how they iterate against one another. There's less and less tournaments in that 700 to 800 Fargo range, which is why you see a lot of guys not playing as much. So I don't think it's a matter of talent. I think it's just a matter of systems. And until we start making a broader look at how we adjust those things, because we say we value the Mosconi Cup, but we don't ever put any emphasis on preparing our players and training them for something like this throughout the year, then we're just talking, and not doing. And nobody is going to save us. It's not going to be Matchroom to do that. It's not going to be anybody else. It's the Americans' responsibility to take care of that culture and start setting themselves up for long-term success. That's the only way forward.
You're dead right. Well, I got to go to the arena because
Yeah, man.
An hour. So I appreciate you joining me. Thank you for sponsoring the podcast as well as Jacoby Custom Cues. Alicia says hi. We'll everybody tune in. It's about Sky Sports wherever you're at, and talking at this time tomorrow, right? The U.S. is looking at. What do you think?
We'll see what happens, man. I guess it'll be an exciting day today, and we'll see how Team USA responds to day one. So,
Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week.